So we spend a lot of time, just in the geography of modern day Israel and tracing where Jesus lived and where he ministered. And so hopefully these are characters that kids love. And when they love characters, they care what they have to say. And I think this is a great opportunity just to share the gospel with kids.
So you have a new show coming out. Can
Yes.
you tell us about it?
Yes, it is called the Dead Sea Squirrels. And I am so excited about this show. It's actually based off of my book series of the same name through Tyndale Publishing. But it's an animated series based off the books. Kind of the elevator pitch premise is a 10-year-old boy, Michael, discovers two salt-encrusted, dehydrated squirrels in a cave in the Dead Sea where he's spending the summer with his dad, who's an archaeologist. Michael thinks they're the coolest things ever. He wants to bring them home as like sort of vacation souvenirs, so he sticks them in his backpack, brings them back home with him to Tennessee. So they don't stink up his room. He puts them on his windowsill, opens up the window at night, to kind of let them air out. Well, it rains. They rehydrate, desalinate, and reanimate, and they come back to life. And it's Merle and Pearl Squirrel, an old Jewish couple who lived during the first century, and now have come to life in the 21st century. And so they've got obviously this ancient wisdom, and they are, they were witnesses to the life of Jesus and the disciples, and now they can share those stories with Michael and his friends as they go through their problems in the 21st century.
That's incredible. I'm so excited to see this. It sounds so cute. How did you come up with this concept and this idea? Like, where did it come from?
Well, so back in my VeggieTales days, one of the things that we never did with VeggieTales, if you noticed, is we never depicted Jesus as a vegetable, and
Hmm.
that's kind of a line that we drew in the sand early on. We didn't want that; would have been too irreverent, and we didn't want to do that. And so I was trying to think of a concept for a show which would allow for the retelling of more New Testament gospel stories. And so that was the initial impetus. And then I thought, well, it's kind of like Encino Man, and I didn't want to go back to Bible times for a whole, show. But I thought what would be fun is to bring a character into modern times, from that era. And so my first thought was like, well, it's like Encino Man meets the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then I was like, huh. And then the bad pun popped into my mind, Dead Sea Squirrels, and then I was off to the races after that. So that's where that came up. And then after, so I left Big Idea DreamWorks in 2016, and I started pitching it around as an animated idea. But then a friend of mine who was in the publishing industry says, "Hey, had you ever thought of this as an early reader series?" And I hadn't, because that wasn't my background, but I thought that was a great idea. So I went away and read a bunch of Captain Underpants and Diary of a Wimpy Kid books just to kind of familiarize myself with the format, and then worked up a pitch, and then pitched it to Tyndale Publishers. They loved it, and I started writing the books. And then eventually we made a pilot based off of the first book, and then we were able to raise money for the whole series. So that's sort of in a nutshell, no pun intended. That's kind of how it got going.
And it seems like you have mastered how to take, parables and Bible books and make them that kids can eat them and digest them. Like, what's the trick? How do you get the knack for that?
Well, I really feel like it's just having really fun characters that kids can identify with, that have some sort of a question or a problem related to, that Bible story that you want to tell, and you sort of, kind of make a dramatic argument around that Bible story, and the lessons and sort of the principles. And so in that way, I think the lesson comes to life. You're not just preaching it. You're not just saying words. You're showing that demonstrated within the context of a story. And I think that's what kids really, identify with. And I think that's what we all identify with stories. And I think that's the power of story. And so, and I love doing that.
Yeah. Well, you do it brilliantly. Did you always, when you were writing the books, did you always know that it was going to be a cartoon? Like, okay, this is first and then it's going to transition?
I was certainly hoping that, yeah, because my background is in animation, obviously, and I've been having a blast writing the books. In fact, there's 12 books out now that are available wherever books are sold, and I just signed a new contract with Tyndale for 12 more books. And so I've been having a blast reading the books. But, since my background is or writing the books, but since my background is in animation, that was my hope. What was so cool is, when I wrote the first book, it was like, I don't know, maybe 8,000 words. And I had no idea how long of an animated, show that would translate into, but it just worked out, perfectly as a TV half hour. And so, that's what each of the episodes kind of represents every book, and every episode is about, between, 23 and 27 minutes, which is, kind of the perfect TV half hour size. So all of that turned out great. And I'm just so thankful to, finally get it out there. And, we've been working on it a long time.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how long has this been in the works, been in the project, like
Yeah.
in there?
Yeah, so I started writing the books in 2017, and then we made the pilot, I believe it was right in the middle of COVID, so it was like
Yep.
2020, 2021, which was one of the things, animation in terms of filmmaking and production was one of the things that you could do during COVID, which you couldn't do in other parts of production. And so, we worked with the we work with an animation company out of New Zealand, Muck Putty, but then I also teach at Lipscomb University in Nashville, and we have a really vibrant animation department here, led by two Disney veterans, Tom and Tony Bancroft. And so we put together a team of student animators, top animators, to animate. Every episode has a song, like we have a flashback song in every episode, and the students work on that song, and we set that up as sort of a mini production. And then, and then the New Zealand animation squad handles the lion's share of the animation. So that's kind of the pipeline that we worked out. And
Wow.
so got started on, the pilot was 2020-ish, and then we wrapped production on the rest of the episodes. So there's 13 episodes in 2024. So, between the books and and finishing the animation, it's been, 7, 8 years. So it's been a lot, but I'm just so thankful to be at this point now.
Yeah, I'm so thankful I get to see it. And this show, I've looked it up, it's a pretty star-studded cast. Like people are going to recognize the names and the voices and they hear them. Can you talk a little bit about the guest stars and the voices that people can expect to hear?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, we're so excited, particularly in the area of music, because obviously, we're in Nashville. We know a lot of folks here, and in the gospel music industry, and just reaching out, like, we got going. I like if I was going to have a singing Jesus. Who would I want to sing? And the first thing that popped in my mind was Matthew West. That's who I'd want it to be. And so I know Matthew. I've known him for years. We're both Chicago guys, so we're good friends. So I gave Matthew a call and said, "Sure, I'd love it." And he's the singing Jesus. Steve Taylor, who is a legend in Christian music as well. Steve and I actually work together. Steve's producing the show. He's our singing Apostle Paul. And so we've got Ellie Holcomb, is Mary. Her husband Drew is Joseph. Mac Powell is John the Baptist. So just this, just really wonderful singers that have joined us. And then also on the voiceover side, we have some fun guest appearances. Phil Vischer, my buddy from the VeggieTales days, Bob the Tomato, he makes a guest appearance as a voice. So it's just Beth Moore comes in and does a voice for us. So it's a lot of fun. And then we've got great, really top-notch voice talent on it as well, just professional voiceover actors, as well as, we have a really vibrant theater department here at the school too. So we've cast, some top theater students in voices as well. So it's been a really, fun project to work on, just getting the whole community involved.
What does it mean to you? Like you've said, you've been working on it for 7, 8 years.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. Getting an opportunity to really share the gospel story with kids in a way that's super fun and super relatable, is just, I think, really important. The other thing too is, a lot of the series takes place in modern day Israel, and so kind of giving kids an idea of, the Holy Land is a real place, and with real people. And I loved when I was younger reading stories with maps, and so we spent a lot of time just in the geography of modern day Israel, and tracing where Jesus lived, and where he ministered. And so just getting a clear head, or a clear version of that, I think in kids' minds is really important. But I just hopefully these are characters that kids love, and when they love characters, they care what they have to say. And I think this is a great opportunity just to share the gospel with kids. So I'm I'm just over the moon.
Your work has had such a huge impact on multiple generations. I've had friends who have recently actually come to Christ, and they said that when they walked into church, they were like, "Well, I didn't know I could trust Jesus, but I knew I could trust Larry." So,
Oh my goodness.
like that's
Wow.
where I started.
Oh my
That's where they
goodness. That
started.
is that is
Um,
so amazing. What an honor. And I just, yeah, just to know that characters and story can have that kind of impact. I mean, it just is, it's humbling, and just it's also, there's a lot of responsibility in that as well. So I'm just thrilled to be part of it.
what has been the most rewarding part or even moment working on maybe VeggieTales or Dead Sea Scrolls? Like, have you been able to feel or see the effect that this has had on people?
Oh, well, yeah. Obviously, squirrels, I've gotten a lot of feedback from readers on Dead Sea Squirrels, and just, from kids and parents, just how much they enjoy the series, how into reading it's gotten a lot of kids. So that's really fun to see, like, hearing back from parents, oh, my child was a reluctant reader, but they're just eating these books up, and it's great to see them reading and then getting the information and the lessons out of the books. I love to see that. I can't wait to just see in a few years how that translates, because with VeggieTales, obviously a couple generations have grown up with VeggieTales. And I teach now, as I mentioned, and I have students, and I run into young people quite often who the kind of the biggest thing that I hear is, oh, VeggieTales was my childhood, and that is just, yeah, it's just such an honor to know that it's had that kind of impact. And yeah, it's just great.
The Dead Sea Squirrels. Start streaming February 14th, Valentine's Day, exclusively on Minno.
If you enjoy videos that follow your values like ours, and you want to help us continue, go to movieguide.org/donate, because we're actually a nonprofit. You may not know that, but we're working in Hollywood every day to help families have more choices that follows their values. And also subscribe right now.